The thoughts, views, and comments expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on Beyond the Headlines are not necessarily those of management, ownership, or production unit of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is a production of ILTV Studios and cannot be reproduced or represented in part or entirety without express written permission of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is the intellectual property of the Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2021.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that you're well out there this evening as we continue to be able to jam with you and talk about these things. My name is Howard Grant. We are here with you on Beyond the Headlines. I'm sitting in for Shanique Miller as we continue to be able to talk about these things. It is politically tumultuous time. A lot of persons are having conversations about what should happen, where things should go, all these particular things. And I had to get the absolute expert to tell us the damn issue. No, I had to get the expert to be able to talk about exactly what was happening. Ladies and gentlemen, joining me in the studio today is none other than Leslie Miller. Mr. Miller, what's happening with you today?
I'm good shape. God has given me another day.
Praise God. Yeah.
Thank you for it. And my family's given my loved ones. So
You're here.
I'm in good shape.
You're here, man. Listen, let's talk about some things. Most recently, there's been plans for a liquefied natural gas power facility at Ararat Key. It moved further into the public view Tuesday night as the project developers outlined the economic, environmental, and operational details during a public consultation meeting, positioning the initiative as a key infrastructure upgrade for the Nassau's cruise port and the wider energy landscape. Errol Farquharson, the chief executive officers of Island Power Producers Limited, telling Eyewitness News here that the proposed development would transform an underdeveloped site at Ararat Key into the modern energy facility while supporting job creation. Talk to me about it.
21.
Talk to me about it. Now, this is something that you've been doing how many years ago?
25 years now.
25 years ago. And your first initiative, I could remember years ago, you talking about the fact that you had relationships and you reached out and went into Venezuela to find opportunities to be able to bring to the Bahamas.
Petrocaribe, yes.
Talk to me about that.
Well, you know, when I was appointed Minister of Trade and Industry in 2002, first of all, good evening, Bahamas. Happy New Year to all of our listeners.
I think they have the SOP. Before we go into that, let's watch this clip right here. Go ahead with the clip.
What this project would mean for Ararat Key specifically is that presently the site where we're going to be building this plant is undeveloped. So we're going to be developing this site, putting on new infrastructure, new buildings, a new plant, which will encourage, you know, this is going to, in the long term, it's going to employ about 40 to 50 full-time operational staff when we're in start operations in about a year. So I think in that aspect, we'll be developing the area more so than what it is right now. So the LNG plant reduces emissions by up to about 90% compared to what the diesel engines do. And then in terms of noise, with the new systems and the efficient levels that they have and the enclosures that we will have, the noise levels, you would not be able to hear much of these turbines at all if you're more than about 50 meters away from them.
You know, basically I was relieved to hear that it isn't going to have any flare, there aren't going to be emissions, or there shouldn't be, and that it's not going to be so noisy to operate, and that also Ararat Key will get cleaned up because there's a lot of debris and little fires that go on, and so hopefully this is going to be a plus, and that the cruise ships won't be putting out their smoke.
They've done an excellent job at taking care of and dealing with these issues. The other good thing about it is the fact that we're, you know, finally moving away from bunker 3 oil at Clifton Pier, and that we're now getting into clean energy production, you know, solar, LNG, and it's about time. I mean, I'm amazed that it's taken the island so long to actually get to that point. I know that there have been various attempts in the past which have, for some unknown reason, failed. I suppose there are all political issues that are involved. But I think that the presentation was extremely good. I think they answered all the questions that I would have had at any rate, you know. They're producing clean energy, basically, which is the most important thing.
Producing clean energy. We don't know why it took so long.
20 years to be exact.
Talk to me about it, man. Talk to me. You started to talk, but then we got the clip. Go
I
ahead.
was made Minister of Trade and Industry by Right Honorable Perry Christian after the 2002 election. There was a company called AES out of Connecticut that wanted to put a regasification terminal on Arawak Key, one at Clifton for BEC apparatus, and we were getting set up to go on the key right off Bimini. We were getting from Florida Power and Light on the other interest $1.2 billion over 20 years to put into the treasury for the Bahamian people. We were getting $35 million for signing the contract to get things moving. That was Ocean Key that we were dealing with. Private island, private man-made island. We were going to transport the LNG from Ocean Key to Turkey Point for Florida Power and Light, their plant at Turkey Point. That was going to give us $20 million a year for 20 years, $1.2 billion over that period. At that time, it was a new entity, new concepts coming into the world. North America, Europe had it over 80 years, about 100 years ago now. It was 80 years ago then. There had never been a loss of life at any regasification terminal in the world over that 82-year period. But the critics in the Bahamas, the crew, the boys and the girls, who get together at every time to try to disadvantage the average, ordinary Bahamian, instead of us getting something for our people, it goes to the groupings. And, you know, we went all over the world. David Davis was one of our top people, very brilliant young man in the government. And a few others in my ministry. We went through South and Central America looking at regasification terminals and the benefits that accrue to the people of those countries. The first terminal was going to go at Arawak Key to service the cruise ships, almost the exact spot that is chosen now to run that pipeline to service those cruise ships exactly 20 years ago. We were going to put one at Clifton. We were also going to transform 80% of the engines at Clifton to take on LNG.
So the Bunker C would have been...
Bunker C was outdated then.
Just dealing with that. Okay, good.
We went further than that. Between the Bahamas, Dominican Republic, and Haiti, we had a boat that was built specifically for those three centers to bring the LNG into the Bahamas.
The boat was built theoretically in terms of drawings
It was
and
built.
renditions, or
It was,
you built
it
the
was
boat?
built. AES built the boat. The boat was constructed to carry the LNG to those terminals. Remember now, the shipyard in Grand Bahama handles the LNGs now.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would have been another port for us.
Yeah.
Because we're also going to look at Grand Bahama Port for LNG. Okay?
Okay. Now let's talk about this now, because you skirt around the bush, and I wanted to know about the relationship that you had with Venezuela to be able to make this particular thing happen in the country.
No, it wasn't Venezuela. Venezuela was where we were doing Petro-Carib.
Okay.
And Petro-Carib came about one night. My team and I from the Ministry of Trade and Industry went to Trinidad and Tobago for a high-powered meeting on fuel, where we're going to get our energy from. At that time, Trinidad was producing enough fuel for the Caribbean, nowhere near enough for the Bahamas. And I listened intently, and I met a man called Rafael Ramirez. He was the Minister of Trade and Industry for Venezuela, and the oil conglomerate came under his ministry. We went to dinner. We had a long talk about it, and I kept asking him, how is it that Venezuela have a special relationship with South America, with an energy situation where they get cheaper fuel. Central America has it, all countries of color, but the Caribbean, we don't have anything. Why are you all discriminating against us? So he said, we're not discriminating. Nobody never came up with the idea or approached us. We're doing something for the Caribbean. This is the first time we've had this meeting. So we had several meetings. We met after the forum was finished, about 4 days. We communicated then they sent down the presidential jet to pick us up. I was in Venezuela every week for about a year, every month for about a year. We went down, we put Petrocaribe together. Jamaica has already saved over $3 billion in US dollars from the benefits that accrued to them from the Petrocaribe for the Caribbean. That happened. Being the catalyst of it, my team and I went and negotiated with President Chavez, God bless him. Maduro was also there, and our good friend who's now the interim president was there. 3 people I know personally.
This is the dangerous room you was in.
We worked out a situation for the Caribbean, and when we were supposed to sign the agreement in Ocho Rios, Jamaica, okay? I was unable to sign the agreement because the cabinet decided that I had to have 2 escorts for that meeting. The Honorable Fred Mitchell, Minister of Foreign Affairs, and the Honorable Bradley Roberts, God bless him, to make sure that the Bahamas didn't sign on the Petrocaribe.
They didn't sign on?
That didn't sign on. And of course, we didn't sign on Petrocaribe, even though we were the catalyst for putting it together. We
And
never
so
signed the agreement.
we could have been a beneficiary also of being able to receive some of that $3
It was in
billion.
our hands. And we had another side agreement with them that the cost of fuel for the Bahamian people for 20 years would not exceed $3.50 a gallon had we been able to do what we wanted to do. Because we had a deal with Venezuela oil company, PDVSA, and our deal was as good as any deal in the world that they were offering then.
So let me ask you this question. Let's deal with this more specifically.
Yes.
This LNG, this town hall meeting, this conglomerate that comes together, the ideas, which are not new ideas, are we behind the 8 ball? I see a lot of persons moving into solar energy. A lot of persons are using wind turbines and so forth and so on. Are we behind?
No, we're not behind the 8 ball.
The 8 ball. Talk to me.
LNG is the safest and cleanest energy that man has developed, that God gave us. LNG, liquefied natural gas. It's all through the United States. The number 1 company that has most of the LNG is Kuwait. Trinidad also exports LNG. And we had an opportunity that we missed. Now, instead of the people of the Bahamas accruing wealth of $1.2 billion, we now have to pay for it. And that disturbs me greatly, because I thought that we had a situation that would transform our country, that the light bills at BEC would have been cut by 40 to 50% had that happened 20 years ago. It was a reality, but the reality couldn't come to being because I was unable to get, I guess, all of those who was in the cabinet at the time with us to get on board a situation that I felt as a nationalist was in the best interest of our country, and I still feel that way today.
Mm-hmm. So you agree with this particular agitation of persons being able to advocate for the LNG being able to
100%.
come? 100%.
Now, back then, you had this Greek lady who was on my back every single day. She called it Leslie's Natural Gas and everything else. And of course, the little black Bahamians jump on board because there's this great white hopes talking about how it's going to blow up, going to kill Bahamians. It never happened. We proved to them over and over and over again that it never happened. The company was very disappointed. They spent about $10 million
Well, beating the
on the
boat
project.
alone.
Yeah, on the project. And it was just unfortunate that we didn't have the foresight and really to look at where our people could and should have been. It troubled me so much that I decided at that time afterwards that I would never go into cabinet again as long as I lived. And in 2012, I made a decision not to go back. Because what is I going to accomplish if we couldn't accomplish something for the people of the Bahamas? And the fellas who, I guess, was behind the reality that we wasn't going to get it at that time are now the very ones who have it.
Leslie, we can
But
bleed
such is life.
We can bleed into a different conversation. Now you're sitting with me, so we can
Yes, sir.
we can talk politics.
Yes.
Now let's get into this. Now you said you decided not to go into cabinet anymore.
Yes.
As a result of what has happened with these particular things.
Yes, I did.
But we serve at the pleasure of the.
Prime Minister.
Want to talk to me?
And I told the Prime Minister
the
I had no interest in
collective,
going back.
No matter what the collective say, if the Prime Minister's decision is that this is a go or it's not a go, then that's what it is.
Well, it wasn't a go, and I was very disappointed. I'm still disappointed. Because my concern was the payment people and the reality of it, that we'd have been so safe and secure. Cecil Linden and those, him and Mr. Francis and the Honourable Paul Adley, as well as the Honourable Ada Hanna, always used to tell us as young fellas when I was elected in '87, the one thing Bahamas was missing that was going to push our country forward and enable us to diversify and expand our economy was for us to have a contractual agreement with an oil-producing country. And as soon as I got into that office, I started pursuing the situation with Venezuela. That was their goal in life.
I know we got to take a break, but before we take a break, I can take a stab at this. In retrospect, as we look now at the relationship or the deteriorating relationship between America or the non-existent relationship between America and Venezuela, and looking at those particular things, in hindsight, as you look about the potential of being able to create that relationship, do you believe that we would have still been on good standing even though this relationship deteriorated?
Well, we would have had 20 years of benefits already under our belt.
And
so why would it not be good?
Bam.
Yeah. Well, it'd go bam, you'd just switch course. But the 20 years would have been up now with the concession we'd have gotten. So we had nothing to lose.
I like this because this bleeds
We had nothing to lose.
This bleeds into more of a conversation. Marco Rubio came down and said, what's your relationship with Cuba, the Bahamian people, the government of the Bahamas actually being able to reconsider and make a shift to ensure that things are taken care of like that. Listening to this story from Leslie Mitter, the government making these decisions. I don't know who has foresight to be able to look at whether or not the plane and relationships could be intact well into the future, but we missed some money, but we may have dodged a bullet. Guys, when we get back, we can dive into further conversations and talk about the Boundaries Commission and some things that's been happening around the country. We're going to take a quick break and be right back after this.
Comfort Suites Paradise Island is the best kept secret in the Bahamas. Located directly next door to the Atlantis Resort, you'll receive all the privileges of an Atlantis guest with all the benefits of a Comfort Suite stay. Enjoy everything Atlantis has to offer, including Aquaventure Water Park, plus all the amenities of Comfort Suites. Free Wi-Fi, free breakfast daily, and kids stay, play, and eat free. Visit ComfortSuitesPI.com. Welcome to Paradise Premium Foods, where exceptional taste meets everyday convenience. Right in the heart of Hurricane Hole Plaza, whether you're planning a beachside brunch, an intimate dinner, or simply restocking your favorites, we offer only the finest selection of local and imported goods, handpicked for quality, freshness, and flavor. At Paradise Premium Foods, shopping is effortless, service is personal, and every visit feels like a treat. From gourmet meals to go to organic essentials and indulgent treats, this is your neighborhood market elevated. Live well, eat better. Discover Paradise Premium Foods, now open at Hurricane Hole Plaza, Paradise Island. Paradise Premium Foods. Taste the difference.
Take over Venezuela to kill Cuba.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, here just being able to shoot the breeze during the break. My name is Howard Grant, sitting here with you. And I'm sitting here instead of Shanique. Shanique's taking some time off, so she's here. Listen, she ain't going nowhere. Listen, take your time. People calling me, how would you Shanique she's going to be back. But I'm just sitting here right now, being able to take this off. I'm sitting with none other than Leslie Miller. And we're just having a good conversation now. We're talking at the top of the hour, we talked about LNG. He gave us his opinion, he gave us his view, he gave us the history behind those particular things, but something has been in the news lately. We've been talking more specifically, and for the past 2.5 years, about the possibility of being able to see the Boundaries Commission come to the forefront with this sort of an idea of the expansion of the constituencies. Now, we've had enough conversations about whether or not we should expand constituencies. We know that the recent contraction, I think we was at 40, and under the Free National Movement, we reduced to 39. Was it the Free National Movement?
Yes.
Right? We reduced to 39. And now we're seeing the expansion. The last time before that, we were to what? 41 before?
41.
We was to 41.
Yeah.
And they reduced it by 2. Now we're back to 41.
Back to 41.
It was 8 Mile Rock constituency was taken out. And was it Kennedy?
Kennedy was taken out.
And Kennedy was taken out. The 2 constituencies that were
That was
taken
Dr.
out.
Knowledge.
How
God
I know
bless
this so much?
Yeah, I know you
because my
remember.
mother was in 8 Mile Rock.
Okay, all right.
You remember this? You remember this, right?
You got a good memory.
Right? So we're here, we're having conversations about these particular things, and a lot of critics would actually say that the FNM tends to be able to retract and be able to compress, and the PRP expands in these particular areas, but with good cause. We would have heard a lot of things being able to say, but let me read this SOP and let you know. With campaigns already taking shape, and the Boundaries Commission has now locked in for the electoral map, a move that could redefine political strategy, tighten several key battleground seats, and Lanicia Smith has the breakdown tonight.
The Constituencies Commission recommended the creation of 2 new seats, St. James and Western New Providence and Bimini and the Barry Islands. So where will those seats come from? According to the report, the new St. James constituency will be formed from several neighboring areas, from Kalani Polling Division 3, and portions of Division 4 and 11 will be included. Golden Isles will contribute polling divisions 1, 2, 5, 10, and 14. Voters will also come from Tall Pines, specifically Polling Division 4, 7, and 12, along with Polling Division 4 from Southern Shores. Deputy Prime Minister Chester Cooper, who served on the commission, noted that the country's expanded population played a major role in the proposed changes.
The old Golden Isles comprised of roughly 16,000 voters, where an average constituency is 5,000, and we wanted to create more balance.
Meanwhile, the new Bimini and the Barry Islands constituency will include polling divisions 8, 9, 10, and 11 from West Grand Bahama, with all of the Berry Islands polling divisions reassigned to the new seat. Cooper says the move is aimed at better representation for residents across the Northern Islands.
Bimini and Berry Island together is not a new concept. We've previously had that configuration, and there are natural connections between Bimini and Berry Island, and we thought there was an opportunity to create a new seat in that regard.
And with the creation of the St. James constituency, longtime Killarney MP and former Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis says he's staying put as he's committed to the people of Killarney.
Not a run, all right? I've been in Killarney throughout, and I intend to stay in Killarney, but I will review and see what the changes are and see whether I've gotten some new polling divisions, which meant that if that's the case, then I'll have to aggressively approach those areas immediately.
Under the proposed change, North Andros and West Grand Bahama will become standalone constituencies. Kingsley Smith, who won the West Grand Bahama and Bimini seat in the 2023 by-election, says he intends to contest the West Grand Bahama seat in the 2026 general election. Smith says he's confident of a victory from Hepburn Town straight through to West End.
The challenge with those islands is that you have to take time, or one member of parliament have to take the time, or share time between both islands. Each island wants the attention of their politician, of their member of parliament.
The report also outlined minor adjustments to several other constituencies in Grand Bahama and the Family Islands. In New Providence, polling divisions have been shifted from Baines and Grantstown to Fort Charlotte, Centerville to St. Barnabas, Freetown to St. Anne's, Angliston to Garden Hills to Tall Pines, and St. Barnabas to Fort Charlotte.
With the recommendation for 2 additional seats, there were also recommendations for the renaming of 2 constituencies. The Exumas and the Ragged Islands will now be known as Exuma and the Ragged Islands, while South Andros and Mangrove Key will now be known as Central, Mangrove Key and South Andros. Laurencia Smith, Eyewitness News.
So I suppose it's a given to say that if we're going to be able to take off the Bimini constituency, that West Grand Bahama and Bimini would actually remain West Grand Bahama, and then Bimini would take on the identity of Bimini and the Berry Islands. Mm-hmm. I suppose that's a given, because they didn't pronounce that when I was reading the things today.
For almost 50 years, it was Bimini and the Berry Islands.
Yeah.
Been away for a long time. Just put it back the way it used to be.
Yeah.
I don't know why they're upset. The people say that they should have their own constituency. That's fine, but if you don't have the votes, then you have to join with someone else. But it's not
North Andros, I just read in the papers today, and I know that you would have read it also in the local dailies. I just read in the papers today where we would have heard from a lady by the name of Erica Knowles, who took on this kind of...
She's very extensive, and another gentleman too.
Right, and another gentleman,
right?
But and they started to talk about it.
That's emotional more than anything else.
Yeah, because she said, I feel like...
Yeah, because I want to have my own MP from my island, somebody who born here, grew up here, know what our problems, etc. is, and that's fine.
Yeah, but from 2022...
Emotions don't win elections. You need the numbers to make a constituency, and the average number in the Family Island should be between 2,000 and 3,000 voters.
Collectively, for North Andros and the Berry Islands, it has been less than 3,000 people registered right now.
That's what I'm saying.
Registered right now.
Yes.
In the census of 2022, the Berry Islands clocked in at 1,002 people. 1,002 people. You ain't got enough people.
Constituency.
You ain't got enough people. But let's talk about this now. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about some politics. We've identified these particular things. Most recently, we would have been able to see this news station and this media outlet being able to put in Owen Wells
Where would he go?
As a prospect for St. James. And somebody got to tell me what this St. James is.
St. James is all about?
I don't know what this St. James is.
You got a damn name there that is synonymous with the English, who ruled us for 400 years.
Yeah.
What's in this St. James? Why did they say Mr. Roll or something? I mean, give us something to name in it.
I don't know. Somebody
St. James.
Give me, because I heard it was supposed to be Windsor.
Windsor was fine.
Clifton, and then you came up with the official.
At least we got Windsor Field, eh?
Yeah.
But
St. James.
Who the hell is St. James?
I don't know who's St. James, right? But talk to me about this now. We heard that Owen Wells is supposed to be, he's an attorney, a well-noted attorney, being able to be identified and for that. Now, we don't know whether or not this is an official thing. This is something that there was...
a very nice young man. He works with McKinney. Turner and Co., a student lawyer, worked very closely with Damien Gomez. But he was supposed to, I understand he was supposed to be going to Long Island, which is where his
Oh, yes,
parents
I
is from.
did
Don't forget,
hear his name for Long
He
Island.
is the nephew of the late Tennyson Wells.
Yes.
That's
yes.
his nephew, and I thought he was going there, but, you know, some funny things has happened in politics.
You better tell me on the break. Listen, now let's talk about these things. I need to know some things, right? Listen, let's talk about these things now. We've also understood, without formality, without this kind of a position, there has been enough conversation that's been happening over the past 18 months or so in this country about the possibility of who is going in this new seat from the opposition. And there has been a lot of chit-chat associated with the fact that the deputy leader of the Free National Movement, Shannon Cartwright, is supposed to be vying for that particular seat. Now, we can't say yay or nay. We know that the chairman is already ratified in the constituency of Bamboo Town.
Yeah, but he could change that too, eh? If you're thinking he can run on he probably there right now driving around. Even the batteries are you.
Hold on, I ain't supposed to laugh like this on the TV. We
He's
live.
driving right now.
You gotta forgive me. You gotta forgive me.
You want to know if Cartwright could shift with him, you know?
Leslie, you gotta
He
stop.
can take no chance now.
But I always say that he would have been best suited for that type of environment.
That is in his league of
Bamboo Town was
an
crazy.
climbing, upper middle class Bahamian, yeah. I accept
Bamboo
that.
Town was crazy. Let's listen to this clip. Go ahead.
One thing for sure, we know that you could change the lines, but you can't change the minds of Bahamian.
Opposition leader Michael Pintard making clear the Free National Movement is unfazed that additional seats were created and assures the party is in active pursuit of a general election victory.
It means more seats to win, so we're excited. We have very little concerns about the seats. Certainly they don't benefit the governing party, and that may be why again it's only 2.
The long-awaited boundaries report was tabled in the lower chamber today, unveiling splits in Western and Providence constituencies, creating St. James and a standalone constituency in the north in the Bimini and Berry Islands. And while Pintard welcomes the changes, he believes the government fell short on addressing one thing: voter parity.
So, for example, in their move of taking Bimini and putting it with the Berry Islands, clearly if they were interested in greater parity across Grand Bahama, you would notice that there is at least a 1,300 vote difference between West Grand Bahama now and let's say East Grand Bahama.
Pintard argues constituencies with massive amounts of voters like Marcos City and Michael remained untouched, calling it a missed opportunity. But Deputy Prime Minister Chester Cooper is shooting down those concerns as nonsense, attributing it to the silly season.
The reality is the opposition had a member on the committee. These matters were fully discussed. The opposition member agreed with the report, executed the report.
Commission members include Cooper, Opposition Deputy Leader Shannon Cartwright, House Speaker Patricia DeVoe, Tall Pines MP Dr. Michael Darville, and Justice Gregory Hilton.
We laid the report today. That report will go to the Governor General. And indeed, next week the order will come, which will be executed by the Governor General.
Tonight, Pintard is encouraging voters to act with urgency to ensure they can vote in the upcoming election, which he says the FNM believes could be within the first quarter of the year.
Please go and transfer. If you have questions on whether you are suitably, appropriately registered, if you're in the right area, move quickly to go to parliamentary and get these issues resolved. Election is imminent.
The FNM has already ratified candidates in impacted constituencies like Markil Barnett Ellis in Killarney, Omar Isaacs in West Grand Bahama and Bimini, and Carlton Bolek in North Andros and the Berry Islands. Devontae Hanna, Eyewitness News.
And we're back. There has been some modifications. Just a pinch, we've been able to read the Boundaries Commission, the information that's actually been released today, and I want to be able to read just a little bit for the changes that is made for the 2021 distribution. And so it says that Marcos City is a partially moved from Polling Division number 15 of Marco City is now to Portland Division number 13 of Pine Ridge. So some modifications have been made in those particular areas. Now, there aren't much. Now, a lot of persons would take on this kind of a position to say that this is gerrymandering, this is strategic for the PLP, they want to be able to kind of snag this victory. What are your thoughts on this, Leslie? Talk to me about it.
You know, every 5 years the Boundaries Commission have to sit and decide as to what is fair to the voters in our country. There should be an equal proportion of persons who are eligible to vote in every one of constituency. The family island certainly that's that we have in New Providence. And you're always going to have complaints, but you know, I have found over the years, to be honest with you, that the changes that take place has little or no bearing on what happens on election day. I'll give an example. In 1987, the PLP won the election.
Hold on now. When you go back to 87, this is the year that they say that the PLP stole the election.
No, we didn't steal it.
I'm telling you what
the
everybody's
PLP,
saying. You win this
the
year.
PLP won only 2 seats changed hands in 87, you know. It was Janet Boswick and Leslie Miller for Blue Hills. Only 2 seats changed hands in 87. 2 seats, her and myself.
And
but only 2
else
members.
stayed put.
Everybody stayed put. Believe it or not.
This was a heavy conversation because all the little watering holes I go to every time I sit down with my fellas, the older guys, they say to me that the PLP had people in all the hotel and doing this. You hear these stories. Talk to me.
You're always going to come with some stories. The reality is you can't cheat in an election.
Okay, I agree with you.
That's the reality.
But the indelible ink didn't come by until after the 87 election. The next election, we had the indelible ink.
Because you then had a rare leader. I mean, Cecil was a hero of mine. I loved him. Still do to this day. But Ms. Ingram came by at the right time with the right pitch. And you all had to take a leader from the PLP to beat us.
Hold on.
Because he was our PLP. And you all took him from us.
Hold on.
Yes, sir.
Who the hell is
the Free National Movement took it from the PLP. And that's how they get so... It still took a PLP to beat us.
Well, Human Ingram already did tell you he's the biggest PLP. You can't beat him. But listen to me, let's talk about these things now. We look at the Boundaries Commission, we look at these particular things, we look at the layout of how things are laid out in our country. We hearing enough sip or who going to St. Barnabas.
That's Michael Keatis.
Right?
And Cartwright will never go back in there.
It don't make sense for him.
He ain't want no part of that.
It don't make sense.
Mike will win in there and win big.
And I understand that there are some modifications that will be made to St. Barnabas also, if you read this report.
On my part of the day, but second that from the work we did in there with the team.
Right? So for in St. Barnabas.
Oh, yeah.
I believe that he has the victory in St. Barnabas.
Yep.
Now, I can say this to you, and we're getting off record, we're getting off track, just a little margin, just for 2 seconds. Michael Halkitis has identified and took a note out of Shannon's book. Watch me. He's gone in that constituency. The constituency was designed strategically and specifically for Cheryl Bazard. You know this. It was supposed to be the victory for her because of those particular strong seats and polling divisions were supposed to be able to lend her that.
Right.
He went in there. Well, beyond that, the center of the city supposed to be PLP. Point
Well, it
blank.
always used to be over the hill.
Over
But
the
that has
hill,
changed
the
dramatically,
center of the city is supposed to be PLP.
But Ms. Ingram changed that in 92.
Shannon Cartwright came in there, bam, he won. A novice, young fella, came out fresh face, he won, and he did amazing work. Strategically, he was able to empower the people of that constituency, take care of him, a great deal of them, because they gave him an opportunity. Even when the government was transitioning, they retained Shannon. They retained Shannon. And because they recognized that I am of the view that Michael Halkitis took a page out of the book and went into the constituency, stayed in there over these years, always showed up, fed the people, touched the people.
There was a lot of
it's
groundwork
undeniable.
that was done by a team too, before Mike getting there this last time, because Mike traveled a lot over the last few years.
He just got to put himself in that. He got to let you know I'm there.
And we kept the team together. Dave, myself, and some others.
You and Dave?
And well, no, the team. We went in there every week for weeks and weeks and weeks to make sure that transition took place as Mike is needed to be in Parliament. He's a good man.
I agree with you.
And he's a level-headed person.
I said this to him also.
And he needs to be in Parliament.
I said this to him
He needs
also.
to be in Parliament.
When we get back, we can talk a little bit more about this. More specifically, I want to talk about the ideas, the change, the shift. I don't want to give any predictions unless Leslie wants to be able to give a prediction, but we're looking at sort of the makeup and these two constituencies that are added on, depending on the persons that are putting in there.
We don't know what Dr. Minnis going to do. Which one he going to go to?
Dr. Minnis says he's going to stay in Kalani.
No, he said he has to look at the boundaries to see how much Kalani they took from him.
Okay.
Because I think they gave some to Fort Charlotte and some to Mr. James, whoever the hell he is.
What an ass. Guys, let's take this quick break. When we get back, we can dive deeper into some political talk after this.
We have to be mindful that as much as we want touristic development, what impacts the fishery? Over-coastal development, destruction of mangroves, overzealousness of the industry. We have a new movement called do-it-yourself fishing. That is anglers who come to the Bahamas, they don't engage in hiring a guide. Because of this approach, you are going to have people who are going to exhaust the resources.
This is an industry that's preserved. It should be for Bahamian guides only. We have the DIYs coming in here and they're destroying our flats.
We try not to overfish certain areas, so we'll fish a certain area and we'll back off for a while because we don't want the fish to feel too much pressure.
It's not just using the buzzwords of the environment and the ecology. The tourists can be educated that the more you support local ownership, people are doing it obviously the right way, the more the economic circulation in the communities.
I think the most critical thing is accountability, and that accountability by way of legislation, both the Act and regulations to govern fly fishing in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
I look at conservation efforts and the regulation that I've seen to protect the industry that's in the developed world. All of those jurisdictions have implemented strong regulation to protect their fisheries. We are way behind, but we do have a movement and a consciousness. We know where we need to be. Those are our resources, and we have to make an exerted effort to protect it because that's the only gift that we have been given. And if we don't protect that, then we lose everything.
Building the lodge, I understood clearly the mission to continue what my father started. From this lodge, it has served as the headquarters. We finally got legislation passed in 2016, and it legitimized the guiding profession. We pushed to get the program established into BAMSI in the training of the next generation of guides, but it extends way beyond that.
We need more Bahamians in the industry who are doing the research to provide the information to the industry, that is to fishermen, and to everybody who benefits from the resources.
We don't know the resources in this country. We grew up just hearing about sun, sand, and sea.
It is going to be through education and awareness, whether it's within our schools, whether it's in our communities, to conserve the environment, that is going to sustain the fly fishing industry.
Well, the future of fly fishing in the company, I think fly fishing is a very, very unique spot. I think it's going to get better because the guides are now being all certified. They're all getting proper knowledge of handling and how to run the whole system.
If you're a youngster and you want to get into this, it's a job like any other job. You got to live it. You got to love it.
Young entrepreneurs coming in, you want that kind of interest. You want that kind of drive and desire. You want to carry that. You want to become the product.
So you want a space. But not just any space. You need something with a little more potential. So how about 1,000 square feet of room to play with? Superb audio and video production capability, digital LED wall, full lighting grid, and about 124 seats to accommodate a full studio audience with so many other features. Make us your home for your next concert, conference, and so much more. Honestly, the possibilities are endless. Here at ILTV Studios, we'd love to bring your next event to life. So what do you say? Do you want our space?
This segment is brought to you by EV Motors Fleet Sales Division. For 2026 commercial vehicles, call 821-2403 today.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, here on Beyond the Headline. Continue to be able to jam with you. My name is Howard Grant. I'm sitting in for Shanique Miller. And we're having good conversations tonight, getting some history lessons and really being able to dive deep into politics. We started off with a couple of things. If you're just tuning in with us, we'll continue to be able to have this good conversation. I'm sitting here with none other than Leslie Miller, being able to give us some information on exactly what's happening. Now, Leslie,
yes, sir.
When we left off, we were talking about the Boundaries Commission. We were talking about the prospects and the ideas that we see. We were talking about whether or not this was advantageous for the PLP to not only create these 2 seats, but whether or not there would be victory in these 2 seats that they created as they go forward. What do you see?
Let's start at the beginning. The 2 seats became necessary because of the population growth. Out in the area where my good friend and brother Warren Miller, God bless him, I had the pleasure of representing those people for 10 years. Dr. Minnis right next door. Represented them for 15 years straight. That's where most of the growth is in New Providence. That's where most of the homes are being built and people are moving towards the west. So you had to cut the seat. The PLP could not have thought that we would have an advantage because, in fact, in the western area, it's a disadvantage. Because the upper class, middle upper class people ain't going to vote for the PLP. We can't win in none of those areas. It just ain't, that's the reality. Now, whether they believe it or not is up to them. But from my observation over the last 50 years of my life,
that's just simple
being
math.
Involved in frontline politics.
That's simple math.
But what is interesting, we would educate our people, just like all of us we educated, came from humble backgrounds. But the minute we get a house and get a car, we are now paying a mortgage, and I can't be no PLP mortgage. It's PLP for the poor people, and I ain't poor no more. So I got to forget y'all guys. So we elevated them to dump us. And that's what they've been doing over the last 50 years. As soon as they get healthy financially, they cut us loose.
You think that's what's happening?
Well, you ain't no doubt about it. For the last 50 years, I saw it.
So you help them to get financially sound and stable.
And then they dump you.
They move out of the center of the city and they move to the outskirts. When you move to the outskirts is a very, well, I believe that transition is sort of an independent
It's
mindset.
a mental and social move.
Yeah.
It's like a woman who, you know, you are now going to get it, and then she decides when she doesn't get what she wants, they pack the bags and you go home. I want to give you the facts of life.
Right. Leslie, so talk to me about
I want to
this.
give you the facts of life.
This may be a disadvantage. Let me say this. Let's do this.
You mean the Western constituency?
This may be the Bimini seat. Okay, so Berry Islands maybe historically be able to, you could pull off something with those.
Berry Islands and Bimini PLP will win that seat. Hands down.
But Bimini's dynamics have shifted over the years.
That's because a lot of Bimini's have gone from Nassau and other islands to Bimini. Bimini is made up
To
now of
Bimini
a
Bay.
conglomerate.
As a result of Bimini Bay,
Bimini's.
you have now diversification.
Yes.
Before, it was only PLP all the way.
It'd be close.
David Wallace used to have to sleep over there when it came to election, trying to be able to get, because he knew because he can lose. He knew this.
Yeah.
He knew this.
Yeah.
But if the number was low enough, by the time as he hit Holmes Rock, 8 Mile Rock, he could be able to pick those numbers back up.
So we
he had to do more work in Bimini.
We may win one and we'll probably lose one. But we may win 2. Depending on who you put it there. And Owen Wells is a nice young man who I believe will make a contribution to the country.
Owen Wells. I agree with you. I looked at it and I said to myself that there is a caliber, there is a pairing that needs to be going with these particular constituencies. We know that the persons that move on the outskirts of the country, on the outskirts of the city, are sort of an independent thinking. There is a tendency for them to look, if you look back, you could see that these persons would even be able to gravitate towards independent parties or third parties and so forth and so on. And there is sort of a tendency to move in that direction, as opposed to being able to be hard and fast when it comes to the FNM or the PLP. So there is a more liberal approach to how they're voting in those areas. But when you come to the center of the city, we know that this is supposed to be historically sort of the party, the branding. That's the branding what you all do, though, Leslie.
But you know, daily the center is disappearing too. You got to realize that with the conglomeration of the Haitians and others, the center in many constituencies over the hill is evaporated because as Bahamians become more affluent or get better jobs, they move into those skirts. You know, so you can't really say.
Why hasn't the language of the PLP changed yet?
Well, remember in the last election, the only person who was able to retain their seat over the hill was Glennis Anna Martin.
Glennis.
Okay? That was Angleston.
Yeah.
They won all the other seats in what we call over the hill.
Yeah.
Okay? But as that movement, as progress comes to us, and we become more enlightened and more affluent, you move into the suburbs, which is mostly the west, on the Carmichael Road area, heading towards the water shore.
It's heavy what you're saying, Leslie.
Yeah.
Guys, you got to forgive me. I like talking politics, so let me just touch this for 2 seconds. It's heavy what Leslie is saying because over the past 2 election cycles, we saw a lot of young people gravitate towards the PLP. I don't know if this was the attraction. I don't know if this was the marketing campaign. I don't know what it was, but we saw a lot of people, and we just seeing them show up for the PLP, not so much for the FNM. But if you look at the theoretical layout of what Leslie is saying, he is absolutely correct. The fact of the matter is that as you become more fluent, more educated, more exposed, and you have these experiences, you tend to move away from your father's political organization,
And
from
your
your mother's
yes.
political organization.
Yes.
Isn't that crazy?
And you have to realize too that most young people don't vote. You be, for example, in the last election, less than 30% of them voted. They're the ones who raise hell, call the radio stations, giving their views how to run the country, but they don't vote.
Wow.
They just like to raise hell.
Wow.
But they can take the time to wake up that morning, 6 o'clock, get ready, stay on that line sometimes as much as an hour to go vote. And you have many behemoths who raise hell, and once most of them are on the radio talking all the time, a lot of them don't vote. But they like to be heard. But they don't want to be heard at the ballot box. They don't want nobody to say, well, I want them to know how I vote. They don't know how you vote anyhow. So they raise hell, but then they don't go and cast the ballot that God has given them the right to do on the country. So I don't pay too much attention to the very young voters. Most of our voters are in their 30 and above. The people who have a house, a mortgage to pay for, a car payment, exactly. Because they know that the future has to have them included for their children to survive in a fast-moving and a fast-paced Bahamas, and a fast-paced world. So they're going to take the time and vote. The older people are going to vote because that's my children, that's my grandchildren. How do I enlighten them as to how to vote and how to assist in building a country called the Bahamas? They have an obligation. So you make sure that they're going to go in there and do the right thing. And many people don't vote at all. I mean, I know so many people that never registered in their life.
Ever.
Never.
Never.
Okay.
And they got everything to say all the time.
Yes.
And I don't vote.
I ain't gonna vote. I ain't never vote. I said, what the hell are you making noise for then?
What you talking about?
You're not part of the process.
But let's talk about these particular things. I like to be able to see this. Now, one of the things that we did not touch, and I see that the Deputy Prime Minister take on this kind of a position, I see that there is sort of a justification for the expansion of these particular areas and the need to be able to ensure that there is balance based upon the population expansion in these areas, namely Golden Isles and Kalani. Let's talk about this.
Okay.
If the last election, which was the by-election in Golden Isles constituency, more specifically is indicated, after Hubert Ingram has already let the thing out of the bag, and everyone knows that you cannot find 2,500 people no matter where you look. You couldn't find these 2,500 people.
It's not a matter of not finding people, you know. As we went door to door, the team, Dave and I, and all the team that did a wonderful job, people were saying, Potcake, why should I vote now? Then 6 months later I can vote again. I ain't going. Most of them stay at home. Because why would you vote? You know the general election is coming. And you ain't care for none of the candidates. Or you just don't want to be boarded. So they said, I'll save mine for the big one. And that's what people were told. In every area, in every fast black constituency, you hear the same thing. A lot of them. I ain't going to vote. I said, why? Because what I can vote for, and then the next one coming. I said, the beauty of you should vote, I want you to vote, because if we put the fella in, who was our man or the FNM you put in,
you just see him right up.
In 6 years, you fire them and send them down home. I said, so look at what you could do. You hire him today, in 6 months you send him home. They said, I'll think about it, but they still didn't vote. Not that they wasn't there.
No, well, I'm saying to you, based upon the report, Hubert Ingram came to the forefront after we would have said these things. He had a candidate interview and said that, listen, I don't care who's saying this to you, the FNM or the PLP, we couldn't find as much as 2,500 people.
Then they said they couldn't find. They didn't physically go to every house.
The AG popped up and was able to confirm based upon the registration and
Yes.
what was there and say we were unable to contact to indicate that these persons are there. Maybe they've moved out, maybe they moved to these particular places.
2,500 people
So
couldn't
on.
disappear. 2,500 people would not have disappeared.
Well,
the
I
people
know-
didn't go to the polls.
Well, it was 499 because I know I gone.
All right, but if,
I was in the
all right, if that holds true, right? And we cut the boundaries now to equal out to about 5,000 each.
Right.
Let us see what can happen this time in that same area that was now cut short.
Okay.
That's what you got to wait for now.
Okay.
Then you could say,
Well,
they
ladies and
didn't vote
gentlemen,
again.
this is an interesting conversation. I really enjoy it. I really enjoy talking about these things, the history associated with these things. We wish all of these persons well. The FNM, the PLP, the COI, who's indicated that they will be able to do all of these things in various constituencies, all the independents and all those persons being able to go. We wish you all the best. We believe that there will be some modifications. There will be some casualties of war.
Always casualty is war now. You don't go to war, that's some casualty.
Now, you don't think it's you, because you prayed to Jesus.
Well, nobody think they can lose.
When he prayed to Jesus at the same time, Jesus got to make a decision, right?
And they sent me home 3 times after
Yes.
praying.
But if they can send the pot can't go, they can send you home. Get you guys, get yourself prepared. My brother, I enjoyed this conversation
Pleasure
with you.
to be with you, sir.
It's absolutely a
Pleasure to be with the
pleasure to
people.
be able to be with you. Guys, we're going to be here tomorrow again, being able to talk to you a little bit more about what's happening around the nation and finding out if we can be able to, if persons are prepared. I'm going to make a couple calls and see if we can get some special guests on to be able to talk more specifically what's been happening around the country, all right? I want to thank you so much, guys. Have a beautiful evening. This is Beyond the Headline. I'm Howard Grant, sitting in for Shanique Middle. We see you tomorrow. God spare.
Drive carefully, please. All these debts, man.
Yeah.